Hi friends, welcome to ISN College Connect YouTube channel. In this videos, we are going to see how to retrieve the data by using the ID. In previous videos, we saw about how to perform the searching and sorting operations. This video is continuation of the previous videos. Let's see how to implement the retrieve the data by using ID. So for that, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to create one more column in the table tag. In the view component, I'm just going to create one more column that is uh, th. I'm just going to give th, which is going for view data. Okay, so view. Okay, so view. When the user is going to click this data, it need to display the information. Okay, so for that, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to write router link. Okay, so for that, I'm just going to use a, and then I'm just going to use anchor tag get view. Okay, so here inside this I'm just going to write the router link. Okay, so router link, inside this I'm just going to mention the endpoint. Okay, so that is slash view by id. Okay, so view by id. So here I'm going to pass the values, that is the user id. Okay, so here you see user id is stored on which variable? S dot id, right. Okay, when the user is going to scroll over the particular text. Okay, so it is going to make a call to this particular endpoint. Along with this, it is going to pass this values. Okay, so when the user is going to scroll over it, okay, so you'll be find that the ID is going to be get displays on the bottom of our table, bottom of our website. Okay, so here is the when I'm going to scroll to this particular view. Okay, so you'll be find in the bottom on your left bottom. Okay, so left to bottom you will be find this, right, bb2e. Okay, so another one is 5b1f. Okay, so it's throwing all its id, right? Okay, so now you see, instead of giving this underscore on here, I'm just going to write some css design for this anchor tag. I'm just going to write the text decoration is null. So text decoration is none. Text hyphen decorations, I'm just going to give it as none and saving it. Okay, so here you see, we don't have any underlines under this view. Okay, so now when the user is going to click this, so it need to navigate to the another component, view component, where it is going to display the particular user details. So for that, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to create one more component on here. Okay, so I'm just going to create one more component, that is ng gz. Then component is going to be created under the component folder. So component is component and view by id. Okay, so what is the component name? It is a view by id component. Just press enter. So it's going to create a separate component, view by id component. Here I'm just going to delete this string.tss file. Here you see we're having this view id component. Okay, so I'm just going to make a call to this particular component when the user is going to click this view means. Okay, so it need to pass the id to this particular component. This is going to be pull the data and it is going to display on the HTML file. So what for that we need to write the router file, a router link, right? Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm just going to write the router link first. Okay, so here inside this path, we are going to make a call to this particular component. Previously, we saw how to make a call to the component by only by using this particular URL link. Okay, so but here you see it is little bit different from the previous one. Here we need to pass the ID, right? Okay, so for that, how we are going to read the values which is present on the URL. Okay, so for that, first thing we are going to uh, copy the endpoint which we created, that is a view by id. What is the endpoint we created? View by id. Okay, so view by id. Okay, so here I'm going to give view by id slash, we need to read the values, right? Okay, so for that you need to put slash colon. Okay, so that should be followed by the variable name. Okay, so you will be going to give. Okay, so then component, which component need to be get called? Okay, so the component which need to be get called is view by id component. Okay, so this component should be get called. Okay, it's right. Okay, we need to import this first, right? Okay, so when the user is going to click this, okay, so it will automatically navigate to this particular component, that is view by ID. Okay, so it is going to make a call to this particular endpoint. Okay, so why it is throwing error message means here we need to give the command. Okay, so now you see I'm just going to click this. Here you see it is going to make a call to this view by ID works. Okay, so that is the content which is there on this HTML file. Now what we need to do, okay, so we need to make a call. Okay, so to this particular component. Okay, so when the particular component is get loaded, so here you see we having the ID, right? Okay, so in the address bar we need to read that ID. How it is possible means by using params. Okay, so for that I'm just going to, before that I'm just going to implements on init, on init. Okay, so here we are going to import this, implement this. Okay, so here inside this constructor I'm just going to pull the services file first. Okay, so because we are going to retrieve the values from the JSON server, right? Okay, so SS colon, the services file is going to be what? Network call services file. Here you see what is the services file name? Here you see network call services file. Okay, so here I'm just going to import this. Oh, sorry. So I'm just going to import this. Okay, so here we are not used it. Okay, so that it is throwing an error message, and also we need to bind it properly. We need to give properly, right? Okay, so now you see we are going to read the values from the URL link. Okay, so that is using the browser, right? Okay, so how to read the values? Okay, so by using activator router. Okay, so by using activator of private. Okay, so AR. Okay, AR is nothing but activator router. Okay, so activator router. Okay, so here you see with the help of AR, we are going to read the values from the uh, URL endpoint. Okay, so for that, how you are going to read means, okay, so listen. Okay, so here I'm going to use this dot AR. Okay, so that is AR dot. We are going to read the parameter, right? Okay, so that I'm going to use the params. Okay, so then I'm just going to call the subscribe. Inside this, I'm just going to use para. Okay, so para. Okay, you can give any name on here. That is not a matter. Okay, para. Okay, so inside this, I'm just going to read the values. For that, I'm just going to create one variable const. Okay, so d equal to, so so we need to read the values, right? Okay, so para is the hold complete values. Inside this, which value you are going to read. Okay, so here you see in this router we given some values, right? Okay, so for the variable, which variable here we are having? We are having the ID, right? So we need to pass the values inside this para. So the values which is binded is to this variable. Okay, so we need to give the ID name on here. Now you see we can able to read it. Okay, so in case if you're having doubts, okay, so I can print the values on the console.log. Okay, inside this console.log, I'm just going to print the D values. Okay, so now, or else I'm just going to pass it on the alert message also. Okay, alert, I'm just going to pass D. Save this. I'm just going to click this. Okay, so here you see, whenever we are getting loaded into this particular pages, it is going to throw an alert messages. Okay, so that is which ID we clicked. Okay, so which user data we clicked. Okay, so then I'm going to click OK. So here you see, it is loading. Whenever this particular pages get loaded, so it is going to throw an alert message. Why? Because we include this particular statement inside this ng on it. Okay, so I'm just going to remove the alert messages. This is not required as of now. Now what we are going to do, we are going to write an endpoint in the services file to make a network call. So now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to create a services file, a service one method that is going to pass the ID to this JSON server. Okay, so here you see in this JSON server, in case if you want to retrieve that this particular data means, okay, so if you're going to call localhost colon 3000 slash students slash then bb2e, then press enter, it is going to print the values which is matched with this particular ID. Likewise, we are going to pass. Okay, so here you see localhost colon 3000 students slash, that should be followed by ID. So here we are going to write the endpoint like this. Okay, so what we are going to get, we are going to create is get student by ID. Okay, so here we are going to pass some variable. Okay, so D as any data type. It is any data type, the argument. Okay, so which we are passing to this particular method. Okay, so it is going to be what? Observable of any. Observable of any. Okay, so here you see we are going to write the return statement. Return. Okay, so then this dot, which variable is used to make a networking call? So here you see HTTP call. Okay, so this dot HTTP call dot. So here you see this is nothing but it is a get method only. Here we need to make a call to the particular endpoint. Okay, so this dot API URL endpoint. Okay, so how the endpoint will be? So this is comes under completely, this comes under the API endpoint. Okay, so in between this ID and then endpoint, we'll be having the slash, right? Okay, so that we need to put a slash. Okay, so we need to put slash and then, sorry, double quote slash. Okay, so then we need to concatenate the values which is given by the user. That is a D, right? Okay, so I'm just going to give D over here. Okay, so now you see we created the endpoint in the services file. Now we are going to make the call on this particular component to get all the values. Whatever the values we are having on the JSON file, that we are going to make a call. So for that, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to create one method outside of this ng on init. Okay, so ng on init, I'm just going to create one method that is get student by ID. Okay, so you can give any name. That is not a matter. Okay, so here is I'm just going to create this method inside. Okay, so here is I'm just going to create. It is going to accept the values, right? Okay, so it is going to be any data type. Okay, so here I'm going to receive after receiving the values. Okay, so this is going to be stored it on the D, right? Okay, so I'm just going to pass the values to this method get student by ID. Okay, so inside this I'm just going to pass D. Okay, done. Okay, so here we are going to get students by ID. It is going to be pass the values. Okay, so we need to call it outside of this subtract. Okay. Mm. Why? Okay, okay. So why? Because we need to give this keyword up here. Okay. So this dot get students by ID. Okay. So now is the error is finding. Okay. So now I'm just going to write a networking call on here. Okay. Already we pulled this networking call services class. Okay. So we want to access all the method which is present on the network call means by using SS only, right? So SS dot. Okay. So this also need to be accessed by using this keyword. Okay. So this dot SS. Okay, so inside this, I'm just going to which call which method. Okay, so which method is used for making the retrieving the values based on the ID? Get student by ID, right? So inside this, I'm just going to pass the ID over here. Okay, so here I'm going to call the net call. I'm just going to make a call by using subscribe. Okay, so subscribe. Okay, so it is going to be data, any data. So here I'm going to the values which is returned by this networking call is data, right? Okay, so why it is throwing error subscribe? Okay, so we need to put one more parenthesis. Sorry, one more parenthesis. Okay, done. Okay, so mm, sorry, we need to put out. Done. Okay, so here you see, it is when you're going to call this particular method, it is going to call the method which is present on the services class. To make as observable variable, we need to call the subscribe. Okay, subscribe data. It is going to return the data, right? Okay, that data type is going to be what? Which data type? It is going to be relevant to the student, right? Okay, so that I'm just going to create one variable. Okay, so that is observable variable. Okay, so stud student. Okay, so observable variable. Uh, type observable. Okay, so I'm just going to mention the type is going to be what? Student. Okay, so the type is going to be what? Student. I'm just going to store the given value into the std. Okay, so I'm just going to print std. I'm just going to assign the values to this std equal to data. Stud equal to data. Why it is throwing error message means we need to access by using this keyword. This dot student. Okay, so now you see, so now the student dollar is holding the values. Okay, so now we need to print the values on the HTML file. So that I'm just going to move to the HTML file and I'm going to print all the values whichever the student dollar is holding. Okay, so now you see for reference purpose, I'm just going to check it. Okay, so whether it is throwing the right data or not. Okay, so here you see I'm passing it ID. Okay, so when we are navigating to this particular component, it need to print the ID. Okay, so here you see it is printing the particular student ID. Okay, so or else if I'm going to navigate to the Chitra Vinod Kumar, it is going to print the values which the Chitra Vinod Kumar ID is. Okay, so now you see we are getting all the values. Now here we are going to print the values, all the values. Okay, so div tag. Okay, so under this, I'm just going to create a paragraph tag. So in this, I'm just going to print the first ID, it's colon, so some string interpolation operator. I'm just going to call this, sorry, stud dot stud dollar dot id. Okay, so like this, I'm going to print the username too. Okay, so then paragraph tag. Okay, so here I'm going to print the username. Okay, so colon. Okay, so bracket inside this, I'm just going to write stud dollar dot. Okay, so username. Okay, so then I'm going to print the date of birth. Okay, so then I'm going to print the date of birth paragraph tag. Okay, so date of birth is going to be what? Which type? Sorry. So date of birth is going to store down the stud dollar dot date of birth. Okay, so now you see when the user is going to navigate to this, when the user is going to click this particular link, okay, so it is going to display the entire user on the another component. Okay, so hope you understand how to retrieve the values based on the ID. So what I did is, okay, so I'm just recap all those things. Okay, so here I created the one endpoint that is a view by ID, and then I'm just going to read the values from the URL so that I'm going to use colon and then variable name. Before that, what I did, okay, so I created the HTML file in the HTML view component HTML file. Okay, so we created the link. Okay, so a router link equal to view ID, and then we are going to pass the values, right? Okay, so that it is going to make a call to the router file. Okay, in the router file, it is going to check for this particular endpoint which component need to be called. So that view by ID component is going to be get called. In this view by ID component, in the while this particular component is get loaded, okay, so it is going to call the ng on init. We need to read the values from the URL endpoint, so that we are going to use this dot arr dot params dot subscribe. Okay, so para. Okay, so we are going to read the values which the variable name is id, right? Okay, so in the app routing, so which variable name we given id, right? Okay, so that values we need to read, so that we are going to pass the id as a um, key values. Okay, so in the inside this para. Okay, so once it is going to return the values and it is going to store it on the d variable, then we are going to call the this dot get student by id method. Then we are going to pass the d as an argument. So here get student by id, d, it will be going to receive d as argument. What the d is the id of the particular student. Okay, so then here you see we are going to make a networking call by using this ss object ss dot get student by id. It is present on the services file. So we are going to pass id as an argument. So it is going to make a network. It is going to call this get student by id, which is present on the services class. Okay, so here you see the id is going to be assigned as an argument. From here, it is going to make a networking call. This dot http call dot get. Okay, so it is going to make a networking call. And along with this, it is going to pass the values which is received as an argument. It is going to return the values. The finally written values will be given back to this data. Okay, so this data. Now we are going to assign this data to the std dollar symbol, that is a type of student model classes. So this student model, this student, this std is finally holding the values. Then we are going to print the values on the HTML. Hope you understand how to implement the retrieval operation based upon the ID. If you like this video, please share this video with your friends and please don't forget to click the subscribe button and bell button. Thank you.